Hi, good evening, and thank you for joining us on day 307 at GGY, our roundtable discussion. So today I thought we'll discuss about why our vote matters, right? None of us are politicians or economists or subject matter experts, journalists or whistleblowers, but over this 307-day journey, we have spoken to all of them, right? I think that gives us a certain amount of authority, right? I mean, to maybe talk about what's to come, which is the election and why voting matters. And we have spoken about voting. If there are no perfect choices, at least let's look at who to eliminate so that the choices become a little bit more clear. First of all, I have to also say that we have been vocal about corruption from day one, right? From it's been like 2.5 years, right? We have been vocal about corruption. But now that we get closer to an election, the people who are supportive of the administration, and especially the sycophants, right, take our our voices and think we are attacking them, right? That is an attack on them, because they don't realize this is what we've been doing all along. So they consider that as some kind of implicit support for some other party or whatever. That's because they have not been paying attention, right? So right now they're hollering like hit dogs, right? As the saying goes, they're hit, they're hurt, and they're hollering at us. And all we've been doing is asking for, the same things from day one. And we have highlighted corruption, bad governance, mismanagement from the start, right? But now it's close to an election, they take it as a personal attack. So I thought I'll just mention that. So, the most important thing to mention is that your vote matters. I think everybody should vote. 17 million registered voters. Last time there was an 83% turnout. And let's hope that there's a good turnout, because exercising a franchise is important for a democracy. So let's just remind people that these are the things that we have been fighting for from day one, right? It's been good governance, law and order, right? Equal application of the law, justice, accountability, transparency, and all of that leading to some form of system change. So I think it's important to point out that we have lived through 2 years of an administration, right? Now, having witnessed what we have over those last 2 years, we have to make a call about this election. And basically, fighting for meaningful change must mean that we oppose the current administration, because we don't want to see the same things repeat over and over, right? We are not fighting for meager stability where you can afford to pay for gas at any price and that sort of thing, right? While 7 million people are in poverty, we want an equitable society. And everything that we have seen in the current administration tells us that we are not going to get it from the current president or a continuation of this administration.
And
right?
Actually, when you're talking about stability, that is the main trump card, no stability and no polymers and all that.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen what the passport queue is like?
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. People are voting
It takes
with their feet.
days.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyone seen the chaos at the airport? Chaos at
3
the
hours for a
airport?
tourist to come in.
Visas at the
Because
airport.
they won't implement the Supreme Court direction.
Yeah. So I mean, we have talked about the old toxic political culture from day one, right? So the way I see it, I don't know whether you guys agree, please weigh in. He is like a placeholder, right? Like the dividing line between what was and what is possible. We have imperfect choices. We know. Let's go into that in a little bit. But a continuation of the same old betrays everything that the Aragala fought for.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he and also let's not forget he was elected by 134 people.
Mainly
vote to people who's lost their mandate to govern, right? They came in promising vistas of prosperity, delivered absolute living hell.
Vistas of austerity.
Right. And then
before the 134, he had nobody. He was nowhere.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
not like he was some powerful,
And
popular
just
person.
one nationalist seat.
Exactly.
His seat.
Yeah. So I mean, let's look at a few sort of instances where where he has played a direct sort of role in exactly the things that we fight for, right? Like in terms of contradiction of good governance, right? I mean, he epitomizes the plutocracy and the state capture that Murtaza spoke about, right? I mean, we know there are a set of cronies around him. Those UNP cronies are still around him. They're still there. The people who are responsible for the bond scam, to various others, they're still there. None of them have ever faced accountability, right? And also he has usurped the judiciary, right? Like he has not obeyed judicial orders, right? Which basically means, he's consolidating the power of the executive, right? I mean, if you look at...
And feels he's above the law.
Right, exactly. So if his refusal, I wouldn't say his refusal to comply. Supreme Court has given orders, right? If there's a common sense interpretation of those orders, we would have an IGP today.
Yes.
Right?
Acting IGP.
Yeah, and then with the visa issue, we would actually have a return to the previous system. But they're quibbling over the language of the Supreme Court decision rather than applying a common sense interpretation to...
So why is that not a refusal to comply? That is a refusal to comply.
It's in bad faith. I mean, that's the only way I can read it. I don't know how others are reading it. I mean, if you're a fan, you will come up with 100 excuses. Right?
It's a refusal to comply.
Yeah, no, but they're quibbling over the language, Chris. They're saying, that it's... They're saying
IGP?
That, yeah, IGP also.
Visa?
Quibbling, both. They're quibbling over the language, right? So then, if you look at his legislative agenda, right, we have his presidency focuses on repression, stalling reforms, and fast-tracking regressive laws, right? The first thing he did was put all the bad laws in, right? Not the governance stuff, And I mean, I think it's funny because if you were protesting as a government servant, when many unions have protested over the last 2 years, what happened to them? They got water cannon to the Stone Age, right? But now, suddenly with a month to the election, pay rises all around, right? So is that good faith?
No.
Right? So,
And it has to be in violation of election law, surely.
right. But
To
I
be
think...
giving all this...
And
offering all
also,
these...
Ranil Wickremesinghe is on record saying that you cannot run a country by giving these concessions. And he's doing exactly that just before the
Yeah.
election.
So is that good faith or bad faith, right? So if you look at the ATA, we did a program specifically on the ATA, online safety bill. We had Sanjana come and explain this to us, right? So even the governance related things that are happening is half-baked. There's an anti-corruption law, there's an economic reforms bill, various things that are there. And if you look at the interpretation of all of that by the various think tanks, they also don't go far enough, right? So that is the legislative agenda. So you can look at the accomplishment, right? So I mean, on the monetary side, on the fiscal side, the stability has come at a price, and it's come at a price for the poor people.
And actually, I mean, I don't hold much stock by this anti-corruption law if there is no retrospective powers.
Right.
That is, you're protecting all the billions that
Yeah.
have been stolen up to now, which
Right.
bankrupted
All of
this
that
country.
goes under the carpet.
And I suppose including the last two scams as well.
Yeah, exactly. So economic burden on future generations, right? A mountain of debt burdens the future generation, right? Right? I mean, resulting from decades of corruption and governance failures, and he was a part of all of that, right?
Definitely.
People gave him a chance during the Yahapalana.
Yes.
We all voted
We
for
voted
him.
for
We
him.
voted for him, right?
Yeah.
All of us, bar none, voted for him. And I don't know whether it was egos or whatever, but they simply couldn't make it work. He's been like 5 times prime minister. Not a single term was actually completed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he never completed.
Never completed it. So stability has been maintained by placing an immense burden on the most vulnerable people in our society. The VFS scam and the Adani deal, which happened on his watch. Mind you, there are multiple others, right?
Scams.
Various other scams that have been...
Yeah.
Sugar scam 2.0, all with cabinet decisions. Midnight Gazettes. Sipetco, the Sipetco scam and all that.
Vehicle importing Manushas.
Right. So the cost, there is a cost to the economy. There's a loss to the economy, right? All of that could have been used for social programs and various other things. I mean, ultimately, all of this does burden the economy, right? So if you are part of the plutocracy that has captured the state and you're benefiting, by all means, keep going, right? But then there will be another Aragale down the road. There'll be another collapse down the road because Bangladesh collapsed despite a booming economy, right? Because there was no equity in the way the economy was set up, right? So I think, yeah, do you want to?
I wanted to mention that the corrupt nation, when
Yeah.
there was no medicine, there was no food to people, first thing he did was spending some 1.4 billion or more to build houses to
For the
For the
ministers,
MPs.
MPs.
for the MPs.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That's the first thing that happened, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think somebody I heard that today. I think there was a 1.5 billion or something was spent
Yes.
on giving reparation to the MPs for the burnt houses and all of that. Sorry, CK, you have any technical? All sorted. Okay, good. And then finally, lack of accountability for past crimes and scams. We have spoken about this from day one.
Yeah.
Chris has a list that he reads out, right? Failure to deliver justice. Under this president, accountability for major crimes and scams remain elusive, right? So despite whistleblower revelations, enough public information, we know that this president with this composition in parliament will not deliver any kind of accountability, right? He's the bombing victims. First, he's the one who said he'll bring Scotland here. Then what he did, he shouted at the Deutsche Welle reporter because he brought it up, right?
Yeah.
The arrogance, right? Over 2 years have passed. No meaningful progress has been made in providing justice to victims. Apart from that, multiple murders,
2 years have
disappearances.
passed since he promised.
Yes.
5 years since incident.
Yeah.
5.5 years since
Yeah,
incident.
2 years. That's what I'm talking about. Multiple murders, disappearances. You have the list. We can refresh people maybe next week, right? Wasim Tajuddin, Pradeep
Lasantha
Eknaligoda,
Wickramadutta.
Lasantha Wickramadutta. I mean,
Dinesh Shafter.
Dinesh Shafter, right? I mean, if the business community didn't wake up after that, I don't think anything will, so bond scam, 19.5 billion, sugar scam, 16 billion, garlic scam, the Sipetco thing was just in the last 2 years, right? And who was the chairman of Sipetco? Ali Sabri's brother. Ali Sabri. So this is the plutocracy, right? This is the captured state. All people who are benefiting are just a close circle that are around them. And that culture is what will not change under Ranil Wickramasinghe. And that is why we, fighting for all the things we have been fighting for over the years, has to say we reject him, right? His track record, just like Gota's track record in 2019 was disqualifying, Ranil's record up to now is disqualifying. In my eyes, I don't know whether you guys agree.
Definitely,
Oh, yes,
it's worse
for
than
sure.
Yeah.
I think his statement where he tells everybody who supports him, I will ensure your futures.
Yes.
That alone should be enough for us not to vote for him.
Right, exactly. And also, if you don't believe me, listen to him. He says governance is second.
Yeah.
The IMF said you have a governance crisis
Exactly.
in the country.
in
yes.
the country.
He's looking on economic.
Failures, in his own words, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, doesn't this minimize the suffering of 7 million people who are in
Yes.
poverty? Right? It was a governance failure that led to an economic collapse.
Exactly.
Right? That destroyed people's lives. Right? No, right? Because the narrative has been established. We have to provide stability, but nobody talks about stability at what cost.
Yes.
Right?
He doesn't realize they go
even
together.
even the IMF debt restructure. What did he touch? The people's retirement savings, the superannuation funds, right? The bond scam. What did he target? The same thing, right? So the people pay the price over and over and over again for the political culture. And for me, nobody embodies this corrupt culture than this man, Ranil Wickramasinghe, who's an utterly transactional politician. Look what he's saying on stage, right? Three-wheeler drivers, suddenly they're endorsing him. He's giving them a what? Pensions or something, right?
Farmers is fighting off loans.
Right, exactly. I mean, things
What
that
about the ones who have already paid their loans?
the cynical, exactly, the cynical nature of it, right? Cynical. Now he has been in power multiple times.
Yeah.
But suddenly he's distributing land like it belongs to him, right? Right. Anyway, so I
I
think
just hope the people are wiser and see through it. Take whatever is being given by whoever is doing it, but just vote for the right person.
And also right after, who else was saying stuff like this right after he was elected? Gotabaya Rajapaksa. I have a beautiful clip which maybe we'll share on our page where he's talking about economic stability and it's a very similar language. I mean, that's why people call him Ranil Rajapaksa. He has learned that playbook, right? and that is exactly what he's playing. So
And his manifesto is also cut and paste from Gotabaya Rajapaksa's manifesto.
how is it? Okay,
And
yeah. Okay,
that's
but-
all. Other than the first 2 pages, it's written, it's like a 5th standard child and all in I.
Okay.
I.
Okay.
I think
But-
that's the
but-
only
but-
page she has
There's no I
read.
team as far as I
No,
know.
yeah, I think all politicians have a form of ego. I think there's no politician without an ego, right? Like to want to do this, there has to be something in you that says, look, there's something in, you know what I mean? I don't think, but his is at another level.
He's in another level.
Right.
I mean, people do,
So-
but
Yeah.
not to the level that he's going.
Right. So having said that, if we as a group, we feel like it's disqualifying, his candidacy is disqualifying, let's focus on the 2 main viable alternatives who are by no means perfect, and we'll get to that, right? And let's look at their manifestos and do a basic comparison based on things that are important to us, the things that we have focused on, right? Sajid's manifesto is called A Win for All. Sajid right there, and the NPP one, AKD's one, A Thriving Nation, A Beautiful Life, and they have a different kind of imagery. It's again that I mentality, right? I think politicians all have that, right? So, and we have actually been to both their manifesto launches. They're both the economic,
Yes.
policy launches. I attended the debate as well. So let's start with health. Okay, I mean this is not an in-depth analysis. This is a basic analysis based on what is in their manifestos, and just to show, actually it'll come down to not necessarily the manifestos. It's going to come down to the outcomes you expect, right? Because when you read these, they all sound pretty much alike. It's
Yes,
very hard
yeah,
to
very-
discern. So
very much
in terms of
alike, yeah.
health, NPP says they're committing to increasing government expenditure on health to at least 3% of GDP. This is actually something that we have focused on as a number, right? 3% of GDP for health and education, I think, right?
Education
6%
6%.
for education, right.
Education.
Enhancing service effectiveness through digitization and ensuring comprehensive coverage across various health services. That's what the NPP say. SJP says focuses on strengthening the healthcare sector by improving accessibility and integrating modern technology. Also highlighting plans to expand the Suraksha health insurance to provide broader healthcare access and promoting traditional medicine as a national heritage. So when you read this, what do you glean from it? It's very hard to glean anything constructive, right? I mean, ultimately, the opposition these are all promises. Like you will only know what they're going to achieve when they are tested by power, right? So until they're tested by power, that's why it's important that whoever comes into power, that we keep holding them accountable to these promises that they're making.
Both are making promises.
Chaminda,
Both are-
sorry.
Both are not tested.
Both are not tested.
Both
Both are not tested.
I just realized that.
If the
Yeah.
I was
if the NPP is promising, within 3% of GDP, the first question I have is that means we are currently spending less than 3% of GDP.
Yeah, must be much less. I mean, yeah.
I don't think we are spending,
So,
there are
so
no grants.
I think NPP has been listening to us. So listen to the next one, education. NPP aims to provide accessible, high-quality education by integrating vocational education into national policy and improving tertiary education through expansions and scholarships. Emphasizes the establishment of a robust early childhood education system and seeks to raise public investment in education to 6% of GDP, which is
Wow.
exactly the
What
number
we've
we
been
have
saying.
been
So
saying.
they have been listening to us.
Listening to the people.
1.2
Right. So
spending last year.
yeah, SJV plans to overhaul the education system to build internationally competitive human capital, focusing on inclusivity and accessibility through digital platforms and modernized curriculum. This includes strategies to improve the quality of education and ensure it prepares students for global challenges. I mean, both have merits,
But
right?
I mean,
Both have merits. It's yeah.
Both don't have, both of the
No,
SJV
no.
ones don't have figures.
No, never mind that. But the NPP one, I'm a little not sure about what their stance on
Private education.
Yes.
Private education
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
They never got a proper
Well,
answer.
when they
Yeah.
were sitting with us,
Yeah.
remember,
We asked
Harini?
Dr. Harini.
I asked, we didn't get a proper answer. I didn't feel
we didn't get a proper answer.
Yeah.
And subsequently, we asked Chaturanga also, no, they said they're not against private education.
Yeah.
But they prefer state intervention.
No, what they said was, I mean, if you don't mind
Yeah, of course,
talking
yeah,
about it, but they said it's a government responsibility to give a good education to the people. But if anybody wants to go have their own private education, we will not stop it.
Yeah.
But the responsibility of government is to give a good education to everybody.
Yeah.
No, but there was some talk, something about
I
monitoring
mean, no,
or something.
their recording the past against private education hasn't been great, no?
Yeah.
No, and
Right,
also there was
I think.
something about some kind of control over private education. There was
Yeah.
something, it was not.
Yeah.
So that's
so there's a lot of
a bit
state
of a red flag for me.
intervention. So I mean, the point is, you know, these words need to translate into action.
Yes.
Whether and people have to decide whether this policy is preferred over the other one, right? I mean, so broadly, NPP and SJB, NPP more state intervention, SJB slightly more deregulated, right? And you know, like social market economy and things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, people have to make their choice based on the outcome that they want, right? So, but this is what the manifestos actually say. Okay, it doesn't say it's against or for whatever, but this is what it says. Then military spending. NPP, no explicit details provided, okay, about military spending, but a focus on reallocating resources towards productive sectors like health and education. They're saying that, but they don't, when they talk about reallocation, they're not saying they will do it from the military sector. They will reallocate military spending into that. They're just saying reallocation, and they're talking about increasing health and education. SJB indicates a reduction in military spending through natural attrition. That means they won't hire, let the people pass out of the system. Reallocating these funds towards increasing salaries in the public sector, particularly for teachers, and managing expenditures to support social welfare. So, you know, that's something that we have talked about, like make up your own minds. This is what the policies say. Then social safety net and propose programs to uplift the poor. NPP intends to develop a comprehensive social protection system for all citizens, focusing on low-income families and the disabled and senior citizens. SJB says aims to reform welfare systems to better target the needy and plans a broad social safety net that includes housing, healthcare, and education, building resilience against economic challengers. So, going into detail about I thought this was important, so went into a little bit more detail. NPP says poverty alleviation through Praja Shakti, introduction of a monthly financial grant starting from 10,000 for low-income families. Development of a participatory and transparent system for identifying beneficiaries using digital platforms. Because one of the big accusations is that things like Asfasuma is politicized. Right. That not everybody gets it. Now we have those Vatta ladies who protest. They have never, they are in the vulnerable community, in the vulnerable category, but they don't get anything because they are not, you know, they are not going behind politicians and, you know, Gram Sevakas and whatnot. Focus on creating income generation and livelihood projects, leveraging public-private partnerships to empower low-income families through training, technical assistance, and financial support. And also says appointment of field officers to monitor and improve continuous support to vulnerable families, helping them uplift themselves economically. So again, slightly more interventionist. So there's nothing surprising here because
teach a man to fish.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing surprising here, right? I mean, if your party is to the left, that means there's more government intervention. If you're in the middle or slightly, if you're in the right, total deregulation, right? They don't believe the government has a part to play. That the market should decide everything and all of that. Some don't even believe in a safety net. But this is that the NPP wants more intervention shouldn't surprise anybody, right? So then targeted support for vulnerable groups. So this is still the NPP, a monthly allowance 5,000. Oh no, I read this, right?
No.
Monthly 5,000 for senior citizens in need, along with establishment of elder care centers and incentives for care workers. Financial aid and employment support for persons with disabilities, including professional training to enable their social integration. Shehal has been tweeting about this, that he was very upset that there wasn't enough about disabled people in any of the manifestos. Protection for women, headed households, single-parent families, and those affected by gender-based violence. with legal aid, housing, and job support services, right? So more intervention, right? They're reaching people where they are and dealing with their problems. Support for individuals with chronic illnesses through financial grants and empowerment programs, right? Then on the SJB side, they are going back to Janasavya like poverty. Janasavya was the UNP signature program.
Yeah.
All other social programs have been a version of
that.
Version.
With a new name.
Yeah.
Every government has come with a new name. What was the Rajapaksa one? Famous one? It'll come down. So proposes a poverty alleviation propose a poverty alleviation program that focuses on multidimensional poverty. This scheme aims to provide financial support of rupees 20,000 per month to selected families for up to 24 months. Harsha spoke at length about this yesterday and how they're planning to fund it and all of that. Emphasizes skills training and matching recipients with employment opportunities to encourage upward social mobility rather than just relying on cash transfers. But he also said that cash transfers are the best way to support vulnerable communities, right? Direct cash transfers as opposed to subsidies. Because when you subsidize, it doesn't necessarily go to the people that it's intended to reach, right?
Okay.
The program encourages participants to engage in local community development, activities or skill training in exchange for financial support with a portion set aside for future investments. Then they also say cash transfers and welfare programs, right? So aims to continue and improve the Aswasima welfare program with increased payments for vulnerable groups, rupees 10,000 poor and vulnerable families. Plans to consolidate welfare schemes under the Welfare Benefit Board and integrate them into a unified beneficiary database to ensure more accurate targeting, right? To depoliticize, right? So it's going to the people who need it. The program will use a cash transfer system linked to specific needs, e.g. Subsidies for food, education, healthcare, with strict monitoring mechanisms. So this is assisting the vulnerable. Somebody was making the argument with me today that this is like the dole system. It's not. Dole is unemployment assistance, right? If you paid like a employment insurance, and the day you're uninsured, the government will pay you back, pay you something until you find another job. Yeah, so this is not the same. This is directly targeting poor communities and vulnerable.
Who may be working but not earning enough to live.
Right, exactly. Then, I mean, in terms of like fiscal measures, that's your revenue and expenditure side, right? I mean, NPP again has a more interventionist approach. We can go through this, right? It's a lot, right? Tax reforms, expenditure management, debt management, right? And then, SJB is talking about taxation reform, expenditure controls, again, debt management, not similar. So they are different. Now, for example,
the NPP says they're going to broaden the tax base.
Yeah. So shall we go through it? Shall we quickly go through it?
Quickly.
So NPP.
100 to 200.
Yeah, both are saying that, right? You have to broaden the tax base. I mean, that is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Tax avoidance, tax concessions. These are ways that we lose money as a government.
And also collection.
Yeah, collection.
That is
Yeah,
the biggest issue.
Absolutely. Collection in the sense, tax avoidance, right? People don't pay, right? I mean, there was a stat today. The tax concessions could have paid for all the social welfare programs in Sri Lanka, right? So NPP tax reforms, they're saying broaden the tax base, simplify the tax system, enhance administration through digitization, increase tax thresholds and reform brackets to reduce burden on low-income groups, introduce digital invoicing and point-of-sale system for VAT collection to improve transparency and efficiency, align with global minimum tax frameworks for international transactions, and enforce compliance with transfer pricing rules, right? Nobody's going to say, we disagree with any of this.
Yeah.
Expenditure management, reduce wasteful government spending. Who's going to say no to that? Right? Reallocating funds to productive sectors such as health and education. That's what they said earlier, right?
Yeah.
Rationalize public expenditure by preventing misappropriation of public funds through better oversight. Implement a digital public financial management system, including e-procurement, to enhance transparency. Then debt management, I think this is where certain things differ. Renegotiate IMF agreements to minimize austerity's impact on the public. Then expedite debt restructure with a detailed audit and alternate debt sustainability analysis. The debt sustainability analysis Some are saying, how can we do our own sustainability analysis? IMF has already done one. But both parties make the point that was done 2 years ago. Today it's a different scenario. So you need to have a re-evaluation, and I think that is there on both sides, right? I'm not an economist or even a student of this, but based on what we have read and seen and heard, again, NPP is more interventionist, SJB slightly less interventionist, right? But in terms of when you read these policies, until you see them in action, it's very hard for us to judge as a citizen where this is going to go. Maybe we need a proper, like a budget office, which I think both parties have said they're going to set up that
Budget
can
office.
actually take these proposals, take manifestos, and then give us an output and saying it's going to cost you this much. This is how revenue is going to improve. This is how expenditure is going to be, and whether you're going to improve your fiscal management or not. Your surplus are going to improve.
When
or
a
not.
minister brings a proposal, it will go to the budget
Budget
office.
office.
They will do the evaluation of that and feasibility and give a report here.
Yeah. So on the SJB side, tax reforms, revise personal income taxes to ease burdens on middle income earners, and introduce a global minimum tax for multinational companies, reduce VAT to 15% and exempt essential items while introducing new taxes for services including digital platforms, adjust corporate taxes to stimulate export-oriented sectors. He spoke about this yesterday. Expenditure controls, control public spending through state enterprise reform, and freeze new public sector hiring until audits are completed. Increase transparency in government spending with the Parliamentary Budget Office to review and publish expenditure decisions. This is one of their key things, along with the public prosecutor, right? The public prosecutor's office.
This is
independent-
SJP or
SJP,
yeah, public prosecutor.
Yeah. Reallocate funds for military spending to key sectors like education and healthcare, like specifically they have mentioned.
I know that the NPP one had said reallocation of funds.
But hasn't said
It's from
from
military. Yeah.
Debt management, engage with IMF to amend current programs and ease burdens on vulnerable. It's the same thing that the NPP said.
That's what I'm saying,
Right?
it's very similar.
Very similar. Yeah,
Very
promote
similar.
export-oriented production to increase foreign exchange earnings, supporting long-term debt sustainability. So it's more of a short to mid-term with a view on the long term, right? I mean, like you said, both these parties are untested by power. Although they have been parts at various times of various governments, right? Harsha and Iran have never been part of a cabinet. That was so surprised to hear.
I was so surprised.
Yeah, never been part of a cabinet. So
They haven't?
never been part of a
Part of the
cabinet.
cabinet.
They have always been state ministers or deputies, right? So yeah, I mean,
I was shocked to hear that yesterday.
Having Harsha, Ravi was finance minister.
Yes.
Then on the monetary side, right? NPP monetary policy, there's been a lot of criticism because they couldn't quite straightforwardly answer the question about central bank independence and all of that, right? So what they are saying on the monetary side is stabilization of the economy. The NPP emphasizes fiscal and monetary stabilization as central to their economic strategy. They advocate for maintaining pro-economic growth policy interest rates to minimize volatility and foster a stable economic environment. This includes minimizing volatility in exchange rates to facilitate predictability and stability. Now, that could be controversial because you want to leave some of this to the central bank and not intervene. You want the central bank to operate independently, right? Monitoring and supervision. So again, state intervention, right? Monitoring and supervision. The NPP plans to strengthen monitoring and supervision of banks and financial institutions to ensure stability, reinforcing the Financial Intelligence Unit to prevent money laundering and investigate money market malpractices. Yeah, okay. Then on the SJB side, strengthening central bank independence, right? So this is a key point of difference. If this is right? SJB highlights the importance of the central bank of Sri Lanka independence established by recent legislative changes. There's a Central Bank Act, right? Which funnily Iran voted against.
Really?
Yeah. Harsha voted for. So I don't know whether he pressed the wrong button, but it'll be nice to get a clarification from him.
He said something for the treasury, no? When he was talking about the treasury being independent.
I can't remember the context, but he voted against. All of the NPP voted against. which includes a new inflation targeting regime. The policy focuses on allowing CBSL to manage inflation and balance controlling it with keeping credit costs manageable for investors and firms. Exchange rate policy. SJB supports a strategy that includes increased exchange rate flexibility, right? On the other side, they're saying more control. Here, flexibility. So it's more deregulated, that is more control, right?
More market.
This is more market oriented, yeah. Allowing the exchange rate to reach market equilibrium through transitional phasing. This approach aims at maintaining international competitiveness by letting market forces determine the normal exchange rate, okay? So it depends on how you view it, whether you're viewing it from the left or whether you're viewing it from the right or the middle, right? So those are the key things, right? Now, those things we have spoken about, health, education, military spending, we have spoken about.
Yep.
We have spoken less about monetary policy, fiscal policy, because really they haven't really been top of mind, although we came through an economic collapse because we were focused on the governance aspect of it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So now we have governance goals that we set out some time ago. So I thought, today would be a useful day to think about those goals in terms of how we would perceive the parties to handle that. Right? So shall we do that? So I need all of you to weigh in. Like I ran through the earlier part, right? So that we get to this part, because this is important. I think all opinions should basically be heard, right? Whether it's from the left, right, middle, whatever. And decide between these imperfect choices, right? We are not even taking Nama Rajapaksa into consideration, right?
That's going to eradicate corruption within 3 years.
Within 3 years, yeah.
To arrest himself and his family, I suppose.
Yeah. So if you look at the snapshot of our goals, I know why Chris is laughing. Somebody made a comment saying, is he planning to murder his family in 3 years? News cutter said something
Yes,
similar. And I think like Dilip and all that, I don't think we need to really focus on. We have said already that President's policy is, his candidacy itself is disqualifying. So let's just measure these
The
things.
one thing that we haven't, which is not in the manifesto,
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't gone through the whole thing, but
Yeah.
not in the summary that you have done, is that both AKD and Sajita both said that they are for
We're going to get to
getting rid of the
that.
president.
We're going to get to that, right? So
Whereas Ranil hasn't.
right, those are our
And
goals.
at his meeting, when someone had asked the question, he said that's not for
Exactly.
me to decide or something.
Ah,
He
right.
waffled through it, he didn't
Yeah,
do
no,
anything.
no. He said no. He needs it, right? No, I mean, why would he get rid of it? When he's enjoying it, at the moment. So we believe. So the first thing we said is we believe that this is not the moment for incremental change, but overall system change, right? Who do you think is more likely to deliver the kind of system change that we have been demanding? I know that big part of that opportunity is already lost because we had a 2-year presidency, right? But is it the NPP? Is it the SJB? I mean, let's be candid. Chassis, where do you see this?
I am a supporter of SJB.
Yeah.
So I've read the manifesto and I
Yeah.
listened to what they had to say yesterday.
Yeah.
They seem to hit the nail on the head of a workshop that I did with Nishan Limal
Yeah.
at Verite. He brought up a few things which they reiterated last night. About the maternity benefits and so many things which Verite has brought up.
Yeah.
They seem to incorporate into their manifesto
Yeah.
or into their economic policy. So I feel that they have the edge for me.
So you feel the SJB will
Yeah.
deliver that overall system change that
Yes.
but Iran did talk about systems change in his speech,
Yeah.
right? But you have to also point out, right now, Sajid has taken so many problematic characters into the party,
True.
right? So so if we believe that he's going to deliver accountability, that should include for the people who has taken in, right?
He has taken in some merits.
Let's. No, sorry, go ahead.
He has taken in some bad but at the same time, his team has been solid and stood by him.
The core team.
The core team.
The core team.
And I think right now we need a good
But
professional
how do we
team.
feel about that? I mean, Tassie, SJB.
Let's
Let's hear across the board.
Yeah,
Anamori,
please.
what do you think?
I feel that
Sorry, can I just make one point? We as a group, we have always been non-partisan,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that we don't have political opinions and views.
Correct.
We lean in different directions.
And it's come to a
I
time
think
we have to
we've
make a choice.
in a non-partisan manner for 307 days. So let's open up a little bit.
Correct.
But as a group, we are not supporting anyone.
No,
Yeah.
and we're not endorsing anyone
We're
either.
not endorsing any
Exactly.
candidate and we're not
Yeah.
supporting.
What
But
about
I
you?
have had little more discussions with them.
Yeah.
And
With them as in
NPP, and I could see a complete change from what we are doing. When we say complete change, not the whole system, but more on governance, if you say, and no corruption. That's the biggest problem that we have. More on corruption.
Yeah.
SJB has a procedure for corruption. They have a procedure they are laid out, but it is more to the future. How the corruption can. These people, NPP will go back also. Back, they had targeted certain people, and we have existing laws, and they're going to have another program how to control the corruption. And that is one thing. And what they are doing is to have, say, we are the 4 members of NPP, shall we say. I will control him. I will watch over him and whether he is doing something. You will...
Like a mentoring type of a thing.
They will
Or
be...
more like a watchdog to make sure the other
Yeah,
one is
yeah.
not
They will
involved
have...
in anything.
That system is also there. And also, where the SOEs and things are concerned, they will have a system where there's expenditure. They will have... Now, we have NPP following same thing that Ranil does. They'll have a holding company. NPP will talk about separating the government from the businesses. Businesses are state-owned, means it belongs to the people. They will appoint all qualified people in that, and the government will be only doing policy, so that government is not involved in day-to-day operating systems. So that is where a lot of corruption happens. And of course, procurement process and all that will be same as these people. But they are bringing a thing, I can't remember the name, which is used in USA to all control the, if you say, competition among people. Businesses, they are bringing the policy that is being adopted in the US, which the current...
Anti-monopoly or something?
Yeah, not exactly that. I couldn't remember the name also. Difficult name to mention. So that there will be competition among people, businesses, so that the policy that is adopted in the US...
So the broad question is, Andy, whether you think... you're thinking NPP is more likely to get to the kind of system change than the SJB. Right?
Yes.
That's the view, right? Chris?
Nama Rajapaksa. Okay, all right.
Now somebody will clip that and promote it saying that Chris promoting now.
Okay, on the topic of system change and accountability for past crimes, my view, I feel that it's NPP.
Yeah, on that side.
On that topic.
On that side. So all
I
of
have to agree that if you're looking at corruption and accountability, I think the only ones who might actually be able to do something would be the NPP. With regard to economic policy, and for me education is also important. I'm not 100% confident that they have the team to...
NPP has the team. So you think on the economic and certain other fronts that SJB has a better plan.
I have more confidence in SJB.
For me, NPP has now, say, for every area, they have a huge team of people, professionals. If you say energy, it's not just one person. They have a huge team. They have been working for the last two and a half years.
But the thing is, SJB said the same thing, that they have a huge team. I
can give you the names if you want.
I know. Even they said the same thing. They said in the sense.
No, I know for a fact that these people are there.
Yeah, I know. No, that is fine. So we're not here to make like a judgment on like their plans and things like that.
My view.
So in terms of overall system change goal, I think they're split. I think there are
I feel
pluses and
every
minuses.
minuses, yes.
There are pluses on both sides.
Definitely.
I think if people are planning to vote on like purely integrity and things like that, but the SJB will lose out because they have taken all sorts of problematic characters into the fold, and I'm sure that is turning people off. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
That is turning people off.
Let's put it simply.
Right? I mean, even GLP risk. We went and protested. We went to GLP risk's house and gave a letter. Right? Saying, what are you doing as an educated person? What are you doing sitting there? You should have at least resigned and left.
Even Tilanga Sumadipala is now with.
Yeah.
Tilanga Supadipala is there.
Yeah.
And if
Partly
you
jumped
take,
around,
and Gota's team mostly.
Yeah. So,
Who are responsible for
Charitra,
bringing
all
the
that. So,
country down with the state.
So Chaminda, from these two choices, I mean, I echo what she also said. If system change and accountability is extremely important to you, I think you have to lean towards NPP. If economic stability, if that's what you want, if that's what's most important to you,
you want Ranil's economy. Without Ranil, you have to go for without Ranil, you have to go for SJB.
No.
I know. Yeah.
I mean.
So this ultimately, Damaris, what about you? What are your views on this?
SJB has, I think, a good team that we have seen, and they work together for some time, and that gives confidence that they might deliver, right? In that sense.
Yeah.
But actually, I mean, NPP also has come up to almost the same. They're looking at the same things. They're looking towards the same things with the education and the focus on health and also the poverty. They're looking at the
I mean the attack.
So both parties seem to be
right.
going towards the same.
If you look at the lines of attack on both the parties, right? One is that the JVP link, right? The past violence and all of that. That's constantly being reminded, including by Kabir Hakim yesterday, right? I mean, in that case, you have to look at the past history of the UNPS. It's no better, right?
Better.
I mean,
talking
UNP
about
has an equally bloodstained history. So they try to paint them in that kind of way, which I feel is disingenuous. I mean, I have defended the right of the NPP to be in the political process, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, I don't think either options are absolutely perfect. But it's better. Both options are better than what we have currently, right? Because we know what we're going to get with the current lot is nothing, no change, business as usual, right? Then the next point is abolishing the executive presidency. We know where we are not going to get that from, right? Whereas we have commitments from both the SJB and NPP.
Publicly committed to it.
Both are publicly committed, So on the corruption front, both have made very strong statements about corruption. SJB about the independent public prosecutor.
And they have a good system. I went through that. Good system for that against corruption. But it's more futuristic.
But they have talked about a public prosecutor, that they will prosecute past crimes as well.
Yes, public,
right?
That is very good because
so that it's not
today you and I can't go to courts because you have to go through the Attorney General and it's a dual part, you know.
The Attorney General is also the government's lawyer, so there's a conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. You know, so therefore I think that's good.
So
that's good.
So on the NPP side, the criticism has been our file khatab, right? Now it's the same. No, but then it's the same with the SJB, right? But they're both. What Harini told us is not that the files don't have facts. It's just that there's no will to proceed.
And also they felt that the files would disappear if they handed it over.
It did. You know that McDill, the famous McDill, the entire file from.
We know things can disappear. Remember Wasim Tajuddin's bones
disappeared. So there's no case.
Remember?
Entire file disappeared.
So we know what to expect from the current lot, and at least they're signaling that these two are signaling that they will do something. So it depends on where you view from, whether you're viewing from the left or whether you're viewing from the right. Right? People have to vote their conscience. Like we can't tell them. You know, we're not here to tell them how to vote, but we can point out who is not going to deliver. on any of that?
And also,
It's
I
a
think
incumbent.
How many cases have been released over the last couple of
And I think
years?
also I know there are a lot of undecided voters. Apparently, there are people who are like, I don't know who to vote, so I won't vote.
Yeah.
But I think people have to vote. It's their
Yeah.
civic duty to do it. And I think you mustn't look only at the man that you're voting for. You need to look at the team that he's working with.
Yeah. So then corruption and all of that, recovering stolen assets. I think both the SJB and NPP have policies that they have put forward.
Yes.
Right. The only issue is whether the SJB will take action against the people in their own ranks. But the people still have a say.
But if they're the public prosecutor, hopefully that will.
Yeah, that will sort it out, and it's
Because
independent.
public prosecutor, the people can go, people like us can go.
Can go and yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can take them to courts, which is,
And but
which
also
is available.
there's another remedy. Vote
Definitely.
them out. Vote them out, right? Whether they're SJB,
At the
NPP,
general
SFP,
election.
whoever,
At the general
right?
election.
Yeah, if there are problematic people that we know, right, who are murderers, thieves, and also the parties should take responsibility in the
holding
nominating
nominations.
process, not to nominate
That
people
is
who
the
have open
most
cases.
important in the general election.
Yeah.
This will be over, but then
Yeah, this
will
is why it's important that we keep our foot on the gas, that we don't let up and hold these parties to their responsibilities, right? Then, so then going on to code of conduct for politicians, we haven't heard really anything like that from maybe NPP. You said has something like that, right? And then we really haven't heard of a code of conduct from any party, right? Really, not really. But I think there's more discipline on the NPP side, right? I mean, every party has a blowtorch, no? Right? Every party. So NPP has
like the court jester.
right, exactly. So every party has, so usually those become the target for ridicule, and then you paint the entire party with that brush, which is also unfair. And and I find it hilarious when the administration fans start complaining about individual people when they themselves have all these very really problematic characters in the ranks, right? So then on the next one law for all, no one can be above the law.
Absolutely.
We know we are not going to get that from the incumbent, right? Mm-hmm. We can only hope that we're going to get that from whoever comes into power, because that more than anything is important, right? We are in a democracy, and rule of law has to be
Nobody's above the law.
Nobody's above the law, yes.
Same law has to apply.
Political leaders with principles, I think NPP takes a slightly is ahead, because they haven't taken any problematic people, right?
And also, I think a little bit critics or whatever are fearful of this JVP element, but personally, I think that a lot of the NPP, it's a new generation. It's not the same fellows who are.
Yeah, I tweeted saying this is not our grandfather's,
Exactly.
even our father's JV, it's the MPP.
Yeah.
But if I personally suffered at the hands of the
Same.
JVP.
We-
We all
did.
Yeah.
We all did, right? So sometimes it's hard to let that go.
Yeah.
Just like it is for the Tamil community to let go of 83.
Exactly, when you think of
Right?
it.
So there's so much grievance in this country. Sometimes it's hard to look past that grievance.
I mean, today
Objectively.
we are in the 21st century. Look at what is happening in Israel. I mean, the whole world is watching.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With the
Whole world
Yeah.
is
And
watching.
so much for never again.
yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, you can't.
It's
I mean, I
unfathomable.
can't-
Honestly, it's unfathomable.
Yes, definitely.
So these political leaders with principles, I think, So I think NPP, based on what has happened recently with the SJB embracing all of these problematic characters, I think has a slight edge there. Then our next demand is systems are in place, laws are in place. The issue is the implementation. We know that. So the rhetoric from both sides is that we're going to see this. It's up to them to prove it, whoever comes in.
Actually, we are having all these laws in the country.
It's just the implementation.
It's just like
Lack of
for,
implementation.
for all these crimes, that money laundering, everything, the laws are in place. Nobody implements that. And we do have, if you have a relationship with another country, to bring them back. I think we have it with Dubai also, no?
Yeah.
They brought so many people.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I thought Dubai is very a bit like a Swiss bank account. They'll take anybody's money and nobody else.
Yeah,
So
They do.
that is there. That is there. And Worse, if you have a country where the money or whatever the assets are there, there's what is called the star. You can use it, but these are long processes.
Yeah.
It is easiest to get whatever the robbed is available within the country.
No, so I mean, look, I mean, asset
Then you can-
declarations, we don't have to take them as gospel truth, right?
Oh, good Lord.
We can verify, right? I mean, the asset declaration itself was
It's
a
a
little
joke.
ridiculous to read some of it, no? Yeah, so I think,
So the laws are there.
Yeah.
I think NPP have, I think, already targeted certain people.
yeah,
They said that, openly, there's nothing to hide. To catch at the beginning,
yeah,
they targeted
Yeah.
certain people, so they don't mention who.
but
And openly they mention that day, so I have no issue talking about it.
so yeah, we need a country where law is applied equally and fairly, right, to everybody. Then protect women and children and guarantee their rights. I think both parties have
Yeah.
signaled that. I mean, let's hope that in the general election nomination process there will be more women included, because even in the local government election nominations that were given, the participation of women was
Very low.
not that high. I think the only party that has equal participation is Prashant's new party. They have equal male to female, I think. But other than that, I think most parties it's heavily.
Prashant's party, did they apply for this local government thing? No.
They said they were
I think they were going
contesting,
to
right? Yeah.
contest, right? But they were
Parliament,
definitely
yeah.
targeting the general,
General
right?
General
They're
elections,
targeting,
general.
Yeah. Then spending more on education. I think both the party manifestos talk about it. NPP talks about 6%, which is
6%.
what we talked about. Then creating a thinking population education reform. Both parties talk about it. Electoral reform. I think this is something that nobody can agree on. When we spoke to all the parties, nobody actually had one particular way of looking at it. Something the way it is fine. Others think maybe a hybrid system, so we don't know what to come. But what everybody agrees is that we need a new constitution, right? We need a new constitution to sort out the national question, to sort out the electoral question, Then the other thing about bogus ministries, crossovers, I think the Supreme Court itself has given a verdict.
Yeah.
In the new constitution, maybe we will figure out how to use the national list in a more meaningful way. Right now it's been misused, it's been abused, right?
Failed
Exactly.
politicians are coming in now.
Yeah.
Rejected politicians
Yeah.
are coming in.
So I think in terms of the two parties, the two options, it really depends on which side you're looking from, right? If you, I mean, and I think the social classes will play a major role in it, right? And where you fit into society will play a major role in it. If you've been struggling, suffering, you've been affected by poverty and all of that, the message of the NPP will resonate with you. That's why they have had such a huge movement and in popularity, because an economic collapse will move the people to the left. They will look for more social protection, more government intervention. Although it was government intervention that killed the economy, right? So these are the little ironies that we face. But we know where we are not going to get any of it, and that is with the current president. We are not going to get accountability. We are not going to get justice for past crimes, right? We might have momentary stability, where we can afford to buy things at any price. Will be okay if you can afford to buy things at any price. But there are people struggling and suffering, right? And they don't see, equity in the way that the economy is being handled, and that could lead back to social unrest.
Now I'm thinking, was it Murtaza who said that the current government is catering to 1,000 people?
1,000 people, state capture.
Elite capture.
It's elite capture.
Elite
Yeah,
capture.
state capture. It's a
Yesterday, Harsha also
plutocracy.
said no.
Yeah.
1% of the people have the 50% of the income.
And look at the monopolies that have been built here, right?
Yes.
Monopolies that have been built here, right? Because we had a closed economy for so long, or closed sectors for so long. Massive subsidies given, massive tax breaks given. You suffered from that, right? In the construction sector and so on. So I mean that really is it from us, right? I mean I think to conclude what we talked about today, vote your conscience. Think about the outcomes that you're looking for from this election, because what we fought for, what the Aragale fought for, was a change not to go back to the same old because it's comfortable in the moment, right?
Yes.
It's comfortable in the moment. Your children are going back to school, right? But think about,
And what
you're
happens in
paying,
2028 when we have to start paying these back?
right? And we are not paying our debts anymore, right? So it's
not far away, no?
And we are
Exactly.
still eating and drinking from the foreign money. India
Yeah.
is still giving money for
Yeah.
fuel.
And our debt has increased, no?
Hmm?
110 billion or something now.
Yeah. Our debt to GDP is over 100% now, right? So, I mean, we need progressive thinking. We need people to think objectively, right? Not to crawl back into their, comfort zones and go back to their personalities and so on. I mean, we fought hard during that time to get people to think in a way beyond like personality politics, right? Remember when there's a new bridge opening, it was the people that went and cut
Yeah.
ribbons and all that.
Yeah.
That happened for a while, right? Because this is public money, right? They might put their names on it, but it's our money that they're using.
Of course.
And for a while, remember, a
Little
politician
children, I
couldn't step
remember
out.
little children going and
Opening stores, opening roads, bridges, and things like that, right?
It's
We
our
went-
mistake in making them.
we
Didn't
went
you
back to
see
We
the-
it?
went back to that. We went back to the.
Absolutely.
I can't remember which period. I have seen outstation most
Yeah.
probably your tax money at work. Have you ever seen
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even in Colombo, I remember.
You
Yeah,
see
your
it.
tax money at work, and we should know what we what happens with the tax money that we give.
Absolutely.
Like in Australia, they give a list of things
Yeah.
that they do with your tax money.
Yeah. So I don't think this election is going to bring us I mean, it's not going to be like immediate overnight system
No,
change.
no, definitely
But this is
not.
a first step.
First step.
First step has to be to reject the old, usher in
Exactly.
something new, right? So I mean, all we can say is vote your conscience, right? Vote your conscience. But we urge people to look beyond the old politics of the old political culture.
Beyond the class of
Absolutely.
Colombo 7 or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Right. Thank you. Any other thoughts on it?
Just,
Go ahead.
just one thing, if we have 5 minutes, that we can
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to
sure.
this.
Yeah.
I think you started off saying we are not experts and we're not economic. That is
Yeah.
100% true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of people who are not politically involved, like we have been. I mean,
We have the
trying
same
to-
conversations.
Yeah, we have been doing this for about 2.5 years. We
Yeah.
have a little bit more information than somebody
Yeah.
generally who will be voting, and that's why people have been asking us, who will you be voting for?
Yeah.
What is your basis for that? Is there time for us to quickly run through? For example, NPP. What are the positives and negatives? We'll only talk about NPP and SJB
Yeah.
because we were not looking
But
at.
that's what we kind of did just
Okay.
now.
We did.
All right.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
I mean, in the sense, we gave a sense of.
Okay,
See, at,
Okay,
at the end of the day, Chris, we have to eliminate the worst,
Yeah.
and we have to look at what we have left and think.
Which is-
Look at them as like a binary choice, right? We voted for Yahapalane to get rid of the Rajapaksas.
Absolutely. It was vote
Okay,
against
now,
Rajapaksa.
it was a vote against Rajapaksa, not that you know what I mean. Like
Yeah, and Ranil
not that it was a
could maintain
perfect
that.
choice, right?
And in
Now,
all honesty, and I think it's probably true for all of us, we've all UNP voters
absolutely.
for most of our lives.
Yeah, and now the UNP has become irrelevant.
Yes,
In the
yes.
political context today, we have two new political movements, and you have to look at, because bringing the UNP back would
There
require.
is no UNP.
That's what I mean. That's what I
It
mean.
destroyed the party.
Exactly. There's no. So there are two
If you
political
take
movements, and those
UNP
are the
is
only
a
ones
grand
that-
old party
Yeah.
destroyed by
Right.
Ranil.
Yeah.
Even SLFP was a grand old party.
Yeah, destroyed by
By
the
Rajapaksas.
Rajapaksas. Yeah.
And made boat tour, if you
Yeah.
look at.
So we have new political movements, right?
Yes.
And those are the choices in front of us. Look at those two and think about the outcomes you want and vote accordingly.
And we
if,
should
if
invite-
integrity is important, you know which way to go. If economic policy is important, you know which way to go. Right? There are a lot of overlapping areas where they have lots in common.
Yes.
If you don't know, vote 1 and 2, or vote for the one, vote the second choice, and vice versa. But by all means, but for God's sake, let's not go back to the same old, business as usual kind of politics,
Old boys
the
club.
ugly old boys club political culture, right? Learn or depart, right? People are not learning or departing. that's the issue. Right, with that, let's end. And Lisha, you have a quote, right, for us?
Right. First one is, A politician thinks of the next election. A statesman thinks of the next generation. I think that's what we need to lead this country.
Yeah.
And the second one is the right to vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful non-violent tool or instrument in a democratic society. We must use it. So it's very, very important that everybody exercises their constitutional right. It's a constitutional duty, a civic duty to go and vote.
Yeah.
But do your research. We've hopefully helped you a little bit in trying to identify the good, the bad and the ugly. And vote for somebody decent. Please, let's get rid of this corrupt regime that we have been bleeding this country for.
Yeah.
Too long.
For
Too long. The whole culture. The whole culture. Right. I think with that, let's end this. I think this is the most political we've ever been. We have never been political. We've always dealt with like topics and subjects and various things. But I think this close to an election, 307 days of rain and sun and mobs and various things that we have done. I think we have a right to voice what we have just done. Right. I don't think anybody will be turned off by what we've said. I don't know.
And we are the only people who continue that are elected.
Yeah, and we're not going to stop, right? Whoever comes into power, we will hold your feet to the fire. We'll hold you accountable.
I mean, we may not do it every week.
As often.
Yeah.
As often, we may reduce it, give whoever the new
An opportunity to perform.
Like we gave Ranil the opportunity.
Yeah.
On the day he became president, we scaled back to twice a week.
From every day.
From every day. So, shall we end with that?
Yep.
Right. Thank you so much. Thanks, Anu and CK, for putting this together. Andy Mowbray, Chris, Leisha, Damaris. Hello.
Tessie,
And
left early.
Tessie, who had to leave a little early. She was also at Liberty Circle today, did the protest and then came here. And you guys will be back at the StreetCon on Sunday for day 308. And that's a wrap from the roundtable today. Good night. Thanks.